Right, this footage has broken the internet today, because what you are about to see is John Fury, 60 years old, storming around a press conference hunting for Carl Froch like a man completely possessed. And Froch is right there, working, on camera, for Netflix. And for a moment, it genuinely looks like this is about to kick off properly in front of everyone. Security scrambling, people moving, the whole room shifting. And now, because of what happened that day, we have got a fight on our hands that the entire boxing world cannot stop talking about. Stay with me, because this story is something else. To understand why that footage hit the way it did, you need to understand what was building underneath the surface for months before that press conference happened. Carl Froch has been on his YouTube channel, one of the biggest boxing channels in the country, saying things about John Fury that nobody else in the sport was willing to say publicly. The headbutting incident with Carl Frampton, the bullying at press conferences, the way John Fury conducts himself around the sport, intimidating journalists, making events about himself when they have nothing to do with him. Froch called it out, clearly, repeatedly, with the kind of directness that has made his channel what it is. Most people, when they get talked about on a platform that big, either respond with their own video or quietly move on. John Fury is not most people. He does not stew quietly. He does not respond with content. He responds in person. So when the Tyson Fury versus Makhmudov press conference is announced and Froch gets the Netflix call, the stage is set. John Fury is going to be in that building. He has been sitting on months of anger, and anyone who knows the man knew that combination was not ending quietly. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, big event, Netflix cameras everywhere, Tyson doing his thing, larger than life, talking about making boxing great again. Properly produced, high profile, exactly what the sport needs. Froch is there in his professional capacity, working for Netflix in the broadcast studio. Up on the balcony, elevated from the main floor, visible to the whole room. And then, John Fury clocks him. What happens next is what the footage captures, because this is not a man who has just noticed someone he dislikes and decided to have a word. John Fury moves through that crowd with an energy that immediately makes everyone around him uncomfortable. People stepping back, security picking up on it straight away. The body language absolutely unmistakable. He is heading for Froch, and everyone in that room knows it. Now, Froch is up on the balcony, so there is a physical barrier between them. But barriers do not particularly bother John Fury. He gets as close as the situation allows, and then it starts. Shouting, swearing, chest beating, full John Fury mode in front of cameras, journalists, promoters, Netflix executives, and half the boxing world watching. And Froch, 15 seconds from going live on air, does not bite. Lennox Lewis is right there telling him to ignore it, keep it professional. And Froch bites his tongue and goes on air and does his job like a complete professional, while John Fury is somewhere behind the cameras, still absolutely losing the plot. Let's talk about the footage itself, because there are a few clips circulating, and they each tell you something slightly different. The main clip, the one shared hundreds of thousands of times, shows John Fury in full flow, moving through the room, getting into people's spaces, confrontational body language all the way up. You can see the moment people realize what is happening and start reacting. There is jostling, pushing, security moving in fast. Whether you call it a proper altercation depends on your definition, but it is absolutely not nothing. The second clip shows the immediate aftermath. John Fury still fired up, still going. Froch in the background visibly holding himself together through what is clearly a massive effort of self-control. And then there is a third clip, shorter, that some people have not seen yet, where it gets even closer than the main footage shows. Sources close to the situation have pointed to this specific clip when describing just how close it came to properly kicking off. In that moment, it would have taken very little for this to go somewhere genuinely dangerous. That it did not go further comes down to security doing their job, Lennox Lewis being the voice of reason, and probably John Fury's own awareness that even he has limits in that environment. Beyond what the footage shows, people close to both camps have been talking, and what they are saying adds serious layers to this story. Sources close to Froch say he was more affected by the confrontation than he let on publicly. Not scared, nobody is suggesting that, but affected in the sense that it activated something in him. The fighting man in Froch, The part that spent a decade at the absolute top of professional boxing got properly switched on that day. And once that switch flips in someone like Froch, it does not go back off. Sources on the Fury side say John Fury felt disrespected in a very specific way. The Netflix dynamic, Froch sitting in a broadcast position talking about the Fury family while John is on the floor below. Something about that triggered him beyond just the YouTube comments. It became personal in a way that pure business never does. And then there are people in the wider boxing world, not connected to either camp, who were in that building that day, who say the footage only tells part of the story, that there were moments not caught on camera that made the situation even more volatile than what went viral. These are credible people with no reason to exaggerate, and their accounts line up consistently. The reaction from the boxing world has come from every direction, and it has been enormous. Eddie Hearn said he had never seen energy quite like what was in that room. Careful with his words, but the subtext was clear. This was not standard fight week theater. This was real. Johnny Nelson called it the most compelling piece of unscripted boxing content he had seen in years. And when someone of Nelson's experience says that, you take it seriously. Frank Warren tried to distance himself publicly, said he could not care less. All he cares about is Tyson being ready. But even Warren could not suppress the fact that this footage is generating massive attention for a show he is promoting. There is no such thing as bad publicity when you have got a 60,000-seat stadium to fill. And the general public reaction has been extraordinary, shared across every platform. Boxing fans, non-boxing fans, people who could not tell you who Carl Froch is, all watching this 60-year-old man storm around a press conference looking like he wants to physically dismantle a Hall of Famer. It has completely transcended the sport. Right, so here is the question everyone is asking after watching that footage. Is this fight actually getting made? And the honest answer, based on everything coming out of both camps right now, is that it is closer to happening than it has ever been. John Fury has publicly told Netflix to contact him, named the venue, named the event, said he does not need 6 months training and is ready in 8 weeks. That is not social media noise. That is someone who has thought about this and genuinely means it. Froch has accepted publicly on camera. His whole brand is built on saying what he means. He cannot walk this back without serious damage to everything he has built. The commitment from his side is real. The venue makes sense. Netflix makes sense. The undercard of Tyson Fury's comeback at a 60,000-seat stadium is exactly the platform that turns a crossover event into must-see television. The commercial logic is undeniable. The audience is there. The story is absolutely there. The final piece is whether the people with the power to make it official decide to pull the trigger. And based on the reaction to that footage, based on the numbers, based on the conversation it is driving across the sport, it is very hard to imagine those people looking at all of that and saying no. Close sources have indicated that conversations are happening behind the scenes. Nothing signed, nothing confirmed officially. But conversations are happening, and that matters because 3 weeks ago, there were no conversations at all. But here is the thing I want to leave you with before we close this out. Because everyone is focused on the fight itself. Will it happen? Who wins? What does the contract look like? And all of that is valid. But step back for a second and look at what this moment actually represents for British boxing. Because we are in a strange era right now. Proper world title fights are harder to make than ever. Politics, promoters, money, egos, sanctioning bodies, it all gets in the way. And the casual fan, the person who used to tune in on a Saturday night and watch boxing because it was the most exciting thing on television, that person has been drifting away from the sport for years. The numbers do not lie. And then this happens. One confrontation at a press conference. One 60-year-old man storming around a room looking for a fight. One Hall of Famer refusing to back down. And suddenly boxing is everywhere again. On every platform. In every conversation. People who have not watched a fight in years are asking questions, taking sides, sharing footage, debating who wins. So here is where we are. The footage has gone viral. The altercation was real. The fight is closer to happening than anyone thought possible a month ago. and the boxing world genuinely cannot look away. John Fury stormed around that press conference looking for Carl Froch, and what he found instead was a story that has taken on a life of its own, with a potential fight at the end of it, at Tottenham, on the biggest undercard of the year, in front of 60,000 people and millions more on Netflix. The Cobra is ready. The fighting man says he is ready. And after watching that footage, I think everyone watching this knows it is happening. Drop your thoughts below. Does this fight get made? And if it does, who walks out of Tottenham with their reputation intact? Until next time.